Everybody, welcome to another episode. Today we're giving a reaction on the Oscar Best Picture winner, Anora by Sean Baker. And Steven, it's out on Hulu right now and Disney Plus. You got a chance to check it out. What did you think?
I did watch it, watch the entire thing, and I'll say first, don't watch it with your family around the first half an hour for sure. Be careful of that because there's a lot of nudity, um, and there's some drug use, and really just kind of it does serve a purpose because you're tapping into this girl's lifestyle. So this girl works as a stripper who basically doubles as an escort, and she's young and she's got these friends at the strip club and all the glitz and glamour and money being spent on one end seems, oh, that could be fun, but then there's this underlying element of grime and grossness and this level of there's not a whole lot of wholesome relationships going on in the line of work that she's in, which makes a lot of sense. I thought the first half an hour was around like a BB plus, and then I think it absolutely took off and was an A from there. I really, really enjoyed the film, and I thought the performances from the supporting characters were exceptional to the point where I thought everybody that was involved in the film as an extra, the mother, even though she played a small role of the Russian boyfriend, the father of the Russian boyfriend, and then the father's henchman and the family's henchmen, all were just so likable, so funny. And yeah, I was really happy with it.
So, what was it about the first half that differed from the second half that made you enjoy the second half so much more?
I think by nature of just how much they hammered the nudity, how much they hammered her lifestyle, I think they could have cut a little bit out of it. So I felt it was a bit elongated. However, I think the argument that would be made was, well, we have to fully immerse the audience in this world and her relationship with this billionaire son who she, thinks she wins the jackpot, so to speak, with this. So that was something I just took issue with a little bit. But I mean, literally, there's an extended sequence, as you would call it in filmmaking, that lasts 45 minutes straight. And that's where the movie kicks up. And basically, not to spoil it too much, but she thinks this girl meets this guy, this young kid who's like ridiculous and very childish and does a lot of drugs and does stupid stuff and loves partying. He ends up asking her to be his girlfriend for the week, and she agrees, and she's making all this money, and then it's great. And then they go to Vegas and party with friends, and he asks her to marry, um and she says yes, obviously. Um and the moment that the family, the Russian very wealthy billionaire family, finds out that he has gotten married in like the 2 weeks he's been in the United States, the shit hits the fan hard. And that middle sequence of that happening, the news circulating back to the family, the family taking action on that, the henchmen having to get involved, and the henchmen getting involved to the point where they now have to fix this whole thing, um, was delightful. I mean, it was so good, and I really felt like I was okay with this winning Best Picture because of the way this film came together. And my favorite part from a story aspect was this fantasy that she thought she was living in came to a head and ended in the way that would happen.
Mm.
Meaning, oh, I'm gonna get married, and she's, the members of this family are really trying to figure it out and how to get the marriage annulled. And by the end, the family, again, spoiler, is successful in annulling this marriage. And this feeling of, oh, well, maybe this marriage will be the thing that they can find love and happiness. Um, they dangle that in front of you, but you realize that ultimately this is a sham. The Russian kid doesn't care about her really at all. Actually, he's going to do whatever the parents say, and the whole thing was kind of a sham, again, for lack of a better word. But it really ended appropriately, I thought, because she felt like at the end, there's a scene where the mother's like, "You're getting on this plane and we're getting a marriage annulled." And Anora goes, "I'm getting half. I didn't sign a prenup. I'm getting half or whatever." And the Russian woman, the mother of the son, basically says, "I will ruin your life if you go ahead and do this." And even though it was a threat, that might have been a part of the reason why Honora said, "All right, whatever, I'll just get this, annulled." I think that was a beautiful story moment where she goes, "Yeah, I know what I was doing here, and he knows what he was doing here, and this whole thing is kind of a little bit fake and not authentically meant to be from a marriage standpoint." So yeah, I was really happy with it. I'm really happy with it. I would argue that I would have liked maybe a little bit of better camera work, but I think that's just a stylistic difference on my end. Um, and the performances, frankly, other than Anora, I thought, even though she did good, I thought everybody else was superb. And yeah, so
And she
again,
won Best Actress for it, correct?
I don't know. I don't
Uh,
know.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm
Well,
wrong.
if she did, good for her. If she didn't, I don't think she deserved it. Probably over some other people, but really an incredible piece of cinema. And you know, Brian and I discussed on our last episode discussing, did Honora deserve to win a Best Picture? If you want to check that out, we kind of discuss the budget and then how much money they spent on the Oscar campaign, which is a big thing in and of itself that Brian and I definitely had some thoughts about. So you can check that out. But Brian, I don't know if you have any last thoughts there, but that's kind of Anora.
No, I think it's a great indication of how crucial conflict is to storytelling. And in the beginning, with kind of the lack of any clear conflict, you just don't there's no empathy, you just don't feel connected. Conflict is the reason why I think we feel a lot of things, and that's such a powerful device in storytelling. And without conflict and relatable conflict of, you know, even Star Wars crazy story about space is still about family. I think when you get down to it and you start telling stories about family and the dichotomy of different relationships of like the mother, it just becomes relatable. And for somebody like a Russian oligarch and, you know, uh, stripper prostitute, which is extremely unrelatable for me, becomes relatable when you throw a family relationships into there. So I completely agree. Once the family dynamic came, and it was almost these smaller characters that were doing it for me, as opposed to Mickey and the Russian son. It was kind of these side characters that
Honora,
really
Honora and
annoy.
the Russians. Yeah,
And Russia,
Mickey
yeah,
Mickey 17 was not in this movie,
but
but
her real name's Mickey in real life.
oh, cool, cool. Okay, sorry,
So
cool.
her, yeah, but she had a really kind of reminds me of Rose Depp's performance in Nosferatu, of like they're really putting themselves out there, and really from a human standpoint of like that type of what that performance requires and that comfortability to do. This was like pretty raw. It was like some raw stuff in there, and very candid with that world. And it was a little too harsh for me. Not my type of movie. If that's like stuff that you're not into, it's kind of jarring and not necessarily your cup of tea. But Again, I completely agree. I think later on when it started to establish the family more, that's when I started to get connected. But again, let us know what you think of Anora. If you thought the performances you liked it, who was your favorite, who wasn't, any parts you loved, you hated. And yeah, let us know. Like, follow, subscribe, all that corny stuff.